Hey guys, Jordan here, and I just finished up an interview with Dominic Wilkerson, and he is a real estate photographer out of Washington, and he went from making minimum wage to making six figures as a real estate photographer in his first year. So he has a very impressive story, and he's continued to grow a team. And there's some great nuggets that he shares with aspiring real estate photographers or existing real estate photographers in actionable items where you can take and implement in your business and get more clients today. So I hope you enjoy the interview. Hey guys, Jordan here with Real Estate Photography Hub, and today I'm interviewing Dominic Wilkerson, a real estate photographer out of Gig Harbor, Washington. Thank you so much, Dominic, for taking time out of your busy day and joining me for this interview.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for having me. It's exciting to be on this one. It's very professional looking, I might say.
Hey, we appreciate that. But right now we're going to start with a rapid fire so that the viewers or the listeners can get a sense of what your background is when it pertains to real estate photography. So when did you get into real estate photography?
2018.
2018. And are you currently part-time or full-time?
Oh, dear God, I wish I was part-time, but I'm full-time.
And what's been your best year?
Last year would have had to have been my best year, even though that it did fall off towards the end.
And what did that look like specifically?
300 and I think 92,000, which is real estate media, and then a course and other branding stuff close to 430.
Very nice. And how long did it take you to transition from part-time to full-time real estate photographer?
Actually, immediately, because I was at a part-time job making barely anything, and I was like, all I got to do is shoot 10 houses in a month to make what I was making minimum wage.
Hey, there we go.
Automatically.
So when the bar is low, it's easier to transition out to go full-time, right?
When you're struggling,
yeah,
you got to do whatever you need to do something.
All right, and you had a very successful year last year. How many repeat customers do you service on a regular basis?
Over 100.
Over 100 customers?
So, yeah, over 100. We service about 500 or so, but over 100 of them are consistent. And then a good 50 of them are more than once a year.
All right, and do you recommend new real estate photographers jumping in full-time or having some type of transition plan to transition from part-time to full-time?
I mean, both. Like, whichever fits your life and lifestyle the best. I mean, I can't tell people, some people have families, some people are single living on a couch. It's really hard to say, but whatever works best for you.
All right, so let's go back to the beginning, right? So you started in real estate photography in 2018. What did that look like then, and what does it look like now?
So I started out in 2018. I was working at a detail shop doing sales and marketing. Let me tell you, working with agents is completely heaven sent in comparison to working with used car sales managers. I had to sell to those guys, and that was difficult. But I got bored of that, so I went and pause real quick. We're doing longer answers now, right?
Yeah, we're doing longer answers. Yeah.
Okay. So what ended up happening was I got bored, and I was on Facebook one day, and they were looking for real estate photographers. So I applied for it. It wasn't on Facebook for Facebook. It was just an ad on Facebook. So I applied for it. Dear God, that took like 3 months of interview processes and in-person stuff in order to try to get with them. I'm like, this better be worth it. I got a camera for this. I got everything that I need. And so I did it. The interview process with them was with another lady. And they gave her the job that I was applying for. And what ended up happening was they're like, but we want to offer you your own area, which was Tacoma, Washington. I was like, dear God, you had me at the first part. And then finally, I understand what you're saying. So, I mean, that was good. It started out, my first shoot, God, was like a $700 shoot. I was like, oh, I could get used to this because that was a paycheck for me. That was one paycheck working 40 hours, making minimum wage. But I would have to pay them 30% of my income. Like every single invoice, I would have to pay them 30%. I had to handle all my own editing, all my own customer relations, and everything like that. and then I had to pay them to use their system to deliver the photos.
Mm,
So every time I delivered a job, it was $12 to send it. I was like, man, this adds up once you
really?
start doing a lot. So yeah, that's how it first started out. It was a good experience because they gave me a bunch of clients, which ended up giving me. I've learned that they're problematic clients. That's the reason why they were so willing to give me a good 10 to 20 clients. But it actually helped me and taught me a lot in the very beginning on how to actually deal with difficult clients.
Right.
And I still have two or three of them still, which is awesome.
So was this like a local Washington based company, or was it somebody bigger, or just wanting
It
to?
was a local company.
Oh, okay.
And so they were just looking for another photographer to back up their main photographer because he was getting burnt out, which is funny because it took him so long to do that. He stayed burnt out and he still kind of is burnt out, even though they had me. And then I started getting, I wouldn't necessarily say burnt out, but I needed to grow and they wouldn't allow me to grow under my terms, like
Right.
hiring on another photographer in my business or a 3D operator in 2020 because COVID and 3D was hand in hand. Um, but yeah, so
Yeah. So you started with that 2018, and you said, was it 2 years with that company, and then in
roughly.
2020? And okay, so what did that transition look like? So you're doing contract work for this company. You're like, you know what? I'm tired of getting nickled and dimed or whatever, however you felt.
Yeah.
I feel like I can do this on my own. What did that transition look like to going on your own?
It was more about the whole growth. I really appreciated being with that company and having the network of photographers that I can actually talk with and hang out with, which actually kind of started getting replaced by Facebook groups because I
Hmm.
was able to talk to them at any time. But I had a conversation with him. I'm like, hey, I want to grow. I want to do this. I wasn't using their back end system anymore. I was using REO. Um, I was using my own editor instead of their editor. They just gave me really the experience of how to do photography properly. But then I did my own style and it all kept transitioning to something else. And so they kind of knew that I was on my way out. And so they tried to use the, hey, you signed a non-compete. I'm like, well, I already lawyered up. And they said my non-compete doesn't count if I'm making under $250,000. And they're like, all right, well, have a nice day. I was like, cool. So January, no, it was the end of 2020. December 2020 is when I left them. So January 2021 is when I brought, because I had a 3D operator, but she wasn't sticking around because I couldn't give her the money that I promised.
Mm.
Because I wanted her to do more photography and everything. And she's like, I can't just keep waiting. And so then my good friend, who's also a photographer, she came on in January 2021, and we've been working together ever since, and it's just been amazing.
Sweet. So I think obviously a big part of, I guess, any real estate photographer's success, especially if you're expanding into a team, is having or finding the right people. Like
Yes.
if you don't have the right fit, because it sounds like your 3D operator didn't know how to do photography, and it was just maybe, I don't know, it just makes the dynamic a little bit complex. And then what happens when 3D starts to dry up a little bit? Obviously, people.
Hmm.
Yeah, we saw that big boost too in 2020, right? There was a massive boost in Matterport and 3D tours, right, during COVID. And then I guess today I feel like we're kind of back to normal somewhat.
We're
It's
still doing it. Before 2020, I only did five 3Ds.
Oh
Like
really?
from 2018 to 2020, I've did a total of five. And it's still a consistent, a good 15 to 20% of my invoices have 3D added onto it. I created a Lux package, which actually includes photo, video, drone, and 3D.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of my top end client, higher end clients use that every single time.
So what does your business look like today in 2023?
So right now I still have Bailey, who was my 3D operator, but she's handling photos on her own. And then finally last year I got her to get her part 107 so she could do drone on her own because I was only sending her out to 3Ds or just photos, but now she can handle it with drone. We picked up another guy who's also another good friend of mine. The three of us are like all the same people in all three different bodies, so it's like we
Yeah,
work
yeah.
very well together. I have an editing team. My next biggest thing is probably picking up an assistant to probably handle like photo delivery and customer like emails and everything for me
Sure.
in the morning. And so that's that. That's what the business looks like right
So
now.
talk to us a
So
little bit about your editing team, because I think this is something that real estate photographers struggle with. One, either delegating to certain people, or two, editing can take up a big chunk of your revenue based on depending on how much you're paying your people. So I'm curious how you set up your editing team.
So I call him my editing team because his name is Chris, and so whenever it's his name's really not Chris. He's Vietnamese, and so but his name is Chris, and
His name
everybody
is
knows him
Chris.
as
No.
Chris. Yes, and so like anytime that I introduce him, it's Chris, and so no one questions, and so it's great. So that's a terminology that I use. That he's part of my editing team that handles all of this while I sleep, and no questions asked. But I've been with him for a good almost 3-4 years now, and um, his team is pretty good. Definitely growing inside of our Facebook group. A lot of people use him because he's the only editor that I allow into the underground. And so, but I pay him $1 a photo, and it just makes sense because if he's editing 30 photos and I'm charging 300 for that, so he's getting 10% of whatever I'm making, which is fine because that means that's time that I don't have to waste. I don't want to call it waste. Time that I get back and I can focus on the business and or doing extra photo shoots
Right.
to where I don't need to edit. I can do an extra photo shoot and then $1 on a photo. Okay, cool. Now I can write that off on my taxes. So that's away from my taxable income. So he's saving me time and money, and it stays consistent. And so it's nice. I honestly have not ever edited a photo that I delivered and charged for
Mm.
since I started. Now, videos, on the other hand, I used to edit all my videos all the way up to like a year to 2 years ago.
So where did
And
you
now he handles it too.
find Chris, I guess?
Um, Magically on Facebook because we always get hit up,
Yeah,
with
there's so
editors.
many.
But
Hey, I
yeah,
get probably a message every
he
freaking
hit
two
me up
days.
at the perfect time. I just got photos delivered from that other company's editor, and I was like, "This is crap. This is why are you guys doing this to me? Why are you sending me to a whole nother team? Why are you doing this? I need the same person on the same photo so I get the same style." And he messaged me, "Hey," um, and his English is perfect, quite
Mm.
perfect, and this is why he makes the money he makes. Um, he just hit me up, and I was like, "Hey, man, look, I want to give you a try. I'll give you a handful of jobs, see what you do." Came back, really enjoyed it, and then I was like, "Fuck this other." Oh, sorry. Forget these other people. And so I went straight to him. I mean, him and we play video games together. That's how cool him and I are. So
All right, so you last year you did, I guess, upper 300K and then total of
right,
400K because you have courses and stuff like that. So
yeah,
so right now it's you have two shooters, Chris
correct.
the editor. Is that the dynamic of the team currently?
For right now.
All right, and so what are your goals for the future with your real estate photography company?
So I have it set up to where, 5-year goal, I want to sell it to a big box company for a couple mil if I can, but I got to set up a good company, a good package for them to buy it, which would be nice. That's just my retirement goal on top of a hill in Wyoming. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
just what I want to do. But for what right
You've
now,
been watching Yellowstone too much or something. No.
it's not Yellowstone. I just want to be on a hill to where I can watch anybody and everybody coming up to my property and see if I like them or not. So I
Nice.
just want to become a hermit. But
Hey, life goals right there.
definitely. And alpacas. I want to raise alpacas. The way that we have it set up right now, if we're doing a full luxury package, which actually has 3D attached to it, I bring in one of the other shooters to handle the Matterport. That way I can keep the photo shoot, depending on the size of the house, under an hour. If it's like a
Mm.
5,000 square foot, it's going to be an hour and a half. But if I can keep and do 4 of those in a day, that's a $6,000 day. And so that's why we tag team. So now that I have them off on their own, I have them, they can go out and do a 3D package on their own. Like everybody has a 3D camera, but I tag team them together if I need them to, so that they can keep it under an hour for both the client and themselves. So if we get too busy and we're getting clients all over the place asking for 3D and asking for the full package, I'm going to need to bring on three more 3D operators, which is going to cause me to train those 3D operators into photography, which is going to cause me to hire six more 3D operators. And so my whole thing right now is scaling my business by picking up some more high quality clients.
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about pricing, because you did touch on it a little bit. And I think this is something that a lot of real estate photographers struggle with, whether it's charging too little. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
that's usually probably the problem, because it's like it's usually not that they're charging too much. Maybe they undervalue their services. But it sounds like you charge a decent amount per job. Like, how did you figure out pricing to set for your business, and have you had any, or and talk to us about what packages you offer, and how much you charge and stuff like that. And yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so definitely the base price structure that I had started with whatever the other company had, and so they kind of looked to see in your area what's the pricing going for average, and I'm like, okay, cool, that's I understand that. But I started looking at their stuff, and they never raised their prices for a good 7 years. I'm like, no, 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 no. We can't keep operating like this. Inflation, you know. And so I switched it over to per photo instead of square footage. From same for video, I went from 250 to 350 for my Matterport. My minimum was 350 instead of 200. I was all like, Matterport is way too tedious for me to do anything less than 350. And a lot of people never ended up using me for Matterport because of that. But then once I threw it into a package, they're like, oh yeah, we love this. This is amazing.
So are you finding that you're selling packages more than like a la carte products?
It's starting to be that way now.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of agents who are there. The cool thing is having it on online booking now because clients can go on there and look and just add it up. They're like, oh, no, maybe this house does need a video. Let me click that. Then they can finally look at the invoice right then and there instead of having that scary email the next morning. Like, what do you mean it was 2000? No, no. You know what, how much it is beforehand, before you book me and everything.
Right.
You choose this, not me. And so, it's a mix right now, but I just started doing the packages last June or so, and so it's slowly upticked. The main reason why I did a package is because I have a client who literally wants everything for every single one. So I called it her name for the longest time, just so that her admin can click on it, so that we could just order everything.
Yeah, yeah.
But getting back to kind of like the pricing and everything, I find myself in Pierce County, Washington. I am priced perfectly for this area. 10 minutes this way into Kitsap County, I'm expensive. And so they only bring me over there for higher end listings on the water, acreage, bigger square footage. But in King County, I am cheap. And they want me up in King County. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I am not traveling up there for, this much. But now I charge $2 a mile for anything over 25 miles. And so that kind of helps offset, any kind of price change and stuff like that. But yeah, no, my average invoice this year is about, oh well, last year. This year is a little wonky. Last year was 265. Oh no, Jesus, I'm sorry, $665.
That's average invoice.
Average, yeah.
Wow,
And so this year it's a little bit lower. It's at 550, but this year's weird.
Yeah. So is the package that you're building, is that like, is it just the retail pricing and just bundled together, or is there some type of discount when people buy all the?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a discount for the simple fact because I say it's 35 images I clearly say up to 35 images because some houses don't take 35 images. And then I offer 5 to 10 photos from the drone, which is I normally only offer 3 to 4 images.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think they save like a good $125 if they package it together.
Yeah.
Which is something, but like I found some agents who do piecemeal it together and they find themselves saving a good $100 to $200. I'm like, that's sneaky, but I like it. So be it. That's what you want. That's what you're going to get. I'm like, I'm not complaining, but I see what you did there.
So the you mentioned that you use Ario, I believe, from
Correct.
platform perspective, are you finding that good for, like, what do you use Ario for? Do you have all your packaging and scheduling and doing all that through Ario, or do you use limited
Correct.
functionality?
So, first it started out with just a photo, a video, 3D Matterport or 3D floor plans and everything delivery, um, as a delivery system. Last year I went to online booking and they actually offer online booking, which is cool because I can actually limit to where, so you're not worried about someone in this part of the state to this part of the state, hire, getting you 1 hour apart.
Right,
You can
right.
set up limitations and everything like that. If someone tries to hire me outside of 25 miles, they can't. They have to call me.
Ah,
And so I'm like, oh, this is stupid. I don't want to drive 25 miles. That sounds, a lot of people are like, I drive 100 miles for $100. I can't. Like, there's too many clients around here that needs me here in order for me to drive more than 25 miles. But yeah, so Ario does now all my online booking. It's attached to my website. So they just go to my website slash schedule and then able to schedule everything. They have all the packages in there to where they can do it. It's attached to my Stripe, which is attached to my QuickBooks. So all my analytics are there. It's quite wonderful. I think the main reason why I really liked Ario the most, I'm going to preface this. I'm one of their ambassadors.
ah,
So yeah, so but I used their product for 2 years before I became their ambassador. But the biggest thing was I was able to send the video and they can download it. And so I didn't have to send it through Dropbox and hope that the invoice was going to get paid.
right.
But now they can either host it on Ario or they can download it and host it on their own social medias and YouTubes, which I tell them that this is what they should be doing as real estate agents.
Got it.
No, don't give me the views. You take the views for your clients and your SEO, not me.
Right, right, right. And I think,
But yeah, so
yeah,
good.
what I was thinking about, I was like, man, the numbers that you've put out on your business is pretty impressive, because you started as what, you're making minimum wage. You mentioned
Correct.
$700 a week
Yeah. No,
before.
that was every 2 weeks.
Okay, $700 every 2 weeks, and you're averaging for one job that probably takes you, I don't know, 3, 4 hours maybe.
No, under an hour.
Under an hour. Okay, it takes you under an hour, and you're literally almost making what you made in 2 weeks.
Correct.
I mean, honestly, that's life changing. To be able to,
Most definitely is.
yeah. So how has your life changed as a real estate photographer, going from, okay, minimum wage, to now I'm, finding success?
So I was in the military for 8.5 years, but I broke my leg a couple times, so they kicked me out. And so then I tried to go do other things like college. I'm not really too collegey. I have a GED, which is actually kind of hilarious of how
No.
much I'm making. Um, but I tried to do photojournalism, and then the 2016 election happened, and I once you learn how to write an article and read an article, you'll learn that all articles, no matter if they're independent, left, right, whatever, they are not unbiased. There is a bias in every single article. Um, the example that I give, you have 5 topics that you got to give, but you can only fit 3 in there, and your bias has to pick which one of the topics of that points that go in there. So your bias is going to show. And so I was like, no, I can't do this. But then in 2016, I have like some health issues, like from the military, like migraines, my leg and everything like that. So it kind of
Mm.
caused me to not be full time into my job. This made it to where, oh, and then the government shut down. So I got no money from the VA and no money from college. So I got my car repossessed. I had to sell all my photography equipment during that time. And then I sold all my photography equipment. And then I was 3 days away from being evicted from my house. So I was literally 3 days away from being homeless. And I was just eating rice for dinner. Like, it was bad. Like, my life was just bad. But I was just like, I got to change. I got to do something. This pushed almost all the way into 2018. And so then that's when I was like, you know what? You're a photographer. You've been a photographer. I used to shoot for Formula Drift, all this other stuff in the automotive industry. And I just wasn't getting paid for that. So I was like, just do real estate. And everybody tells you it's boring, it's not fun, you can't make much money, it's low hanging fruit. Okay, I'm showing you that it's not just low hanging fruit. Trying to tell drone operators that it's not low hanging fruit, they're like, huh, I'm gonna go do a map of a farm.
Yeah, right, right.
And I'm all like, geez, man, okay, I'm sorry. How much did you make in a year? Oh, we made 45,000. I'm like, oh, that's a good month. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
um, so yeah, so that's how we ended up getting. What was the question?
No, just how your life changed, right? Like
So
from
yeah, no, it definitely changed. I go from almost being homeless. I go from almost being homeless to making. If the market changes this year, I'm projecting 650,000 this year. So how do I go from making 700 every 2 weeks to this? It's ridiculous. I was living in an apartment with my cousin, and just I had no hope. I had no. This isn't like for everyone. My story is unique to me, which is everybody's story is unique to them.
sure,
But
yeah.
being able to be your own boss, being able to make your own schedule, being able to take off when you need to, working the weekends if you want to, fitting in an extra photo shoot if you want to. This is all if I want to. I know real estate photographers all the time taking vacations every other week because they want to. But I don't know if you believe in a higher power, but someone was looking after me and saying, hey, do this. Because truthfully, I bought this house 2 years ago, and my grandma, her heart isn't doing so well. So I had her move in with me. And
Mm,
she just got out of the hospital yesterday for being in the hospital for 5 days. All of this is because of real estate photography that I'm able to take care of her and
yeah,
make sure that she has a nice home and that I'm able to listen to her to see if she falls, if she needs to go to the hospital. She can hang out with my dogs, my cat, my chickens in my garden, just having a nice, peaceful place and not alone in a nursing home or something like that. And so I think real estate media has allowed me to grow into who I am today, what I am providing today, into providing for my family, which I assume a lot of people want to start this career to be able to be a little bit more with their family and provide for and with their family.
sure, man. So that's definitely impressive what you've been able to accomplish, with real estate photography,
Hmm.
for your personal life. And but I did want to go back to the question where you're just saying where people are like, real estate photography is boring. I wanted to ask you, do you think, or once you got into it, is it boring to you?
No, okay. So in while I was in the military, one of my old sergeants would always tell me, I was a military cop at the time. They were like, there is no routine traffic stop. On the military base, there's a lot of routine traffic stops, but each one was a little bit different. Each house that we go to, each circumstance, each family's life that we interact with due to the sale of this house is completely different. Yeah, you might have a lot of similarities, but you're never going to continuously go into an empty house fully staged and looking perfect with all the light bulbs the same color and everything like that. So it's always interesting, and you're always trying to like put out fires for agents because hey, they didn't get the siding on the house. Do you think you could Photoshop this? No, I don't even know what the siding you're putting on is going to look like. Or
Right.
hey, they didn't remove the big green dumpster. Can you remove that? I'm like, depending on how far away it is from the house, I can. So it's always something different. And the cool thing is that you're not dealing with really just the homeowners, you're dealing with the clients. So it's a business to business transaction. So they're business owners, you're business owners. So it's a little bit easier going, whereas they have to deal with emotions of a real estate agent, I mean, of a homeowner.
Right.
You have to deal with emotions of a real estate agent sometimes. And then sometimes you're
Right.
just looking like, am I really dealing with this?
And I think you're the first person that said dealing with real estate agents is way easier than what I was dealing with before, because a lot of
Yes.
people, or at least admins, are like, my goodness, some real estate agents are very high maintenance. But I guess, what were you dealing with? Used car salesman before, or
Used car
something
sales
like?
managers and crappy people in the military. I have to say that correctly. Wonderful people in the military, but I would be arresting all the bad guys in the military. And so, you'd be dealing with someone who's shit, just wasted, all the time. And then you're like, did you just use the restroom on yourself, sir? Yeah, it's fine. I'm not drunk. I'm like, shut, get over here. Get over here. And so, like, I'm dealing with that. My life, I've been shot at, blown up. Let me preface that I've never specifically been blown up, but like my guys around me, we've taken IEDs and stuff like that. So this is so nice to just go to a house and take photos.
Right. Not have to worry
It,
about
it
IEDs.
is so nice.
So let's move on to because you also mentioned, so real estate photography and that business that you have going on is one revenue stream for you, and you also have a course and other things you have going on. So talk to us a little bit about those things.
So the course is with Drone Launch Academy. Drone Launch Academy a few years ago when I was getting my license had the course to get your license. So I took it. And then like 6 months later, they were looking for people to join their podcast, like because they were doing a podcast to try to do drone to 1K, like buying a drone and making $1,000 a month. I'm like, all right, cool. What about $40,000 a month? They're like, yes, please show up. So during COVID, so I was on their podcast once or twice. And so then he reached out to me again. He was like, hey, do you want to come on to this course that I'm teaching, which is how to start a drone business and make money? But he wanted me to go on there because my thing is I get all my clients that are not referrals via Instagram for free. Like I don't do any marketing. I don't do anything else. In fact, whenever I post to Instagram, I don't even do it. I don't jump in their DMs like, hey, you should hire me. But with me doing that course with him, he was like, hey, this is amazing. But I got a lot more people asking me how to do real estate photography. Can you teach a course on that? This was last August. I was like, yeah, sure. He was like, cool. We started in 2 weeks. I'm like, what? We're going to start in 2 weeks. And he was like, yeah. So it was an online webinar, a 5-week webinar to where it was 100 students. We did that. And we used them as a beta group, and we turned around and actually recorded a full-on course in November or October. It got published in November. I want to say it's more focused towards drone pilots that want to do real estate photography.
Oh, gotcha.
So I teach them how to do interior photos, interior video, and 3D. And it's very basic, very, very basic, but it speaks to their life. And like, maybe now I can go and make a little bit more money as a drone pilot, right?
Sure.
So yeah, I did that, and it's been good, but it's not on my platform. It's on Drone Launch Academy's platform. So our deal is I get a certain percentage out of it. I don't get the whole thing. They run 50% off all the time, so I still lose money on that. But I got paid pretty well for it. I think I did like $25,000 of sales and stuff. So, which is cool, but it's their platform.
Right. Awesome.
And then I do coaching too now. So
talk to us about the coaching. What kind of students are you looking for, or people to help?
So a lot of the students is slowly starting out right now. A lot of people are reaching out to me like, hey, can I get on a Zoom call with you? Can I help you fix my compass, try to figure out which direction I need to actually go? There's some people who are brand new into it, and I'll have 1 or 2 sit downs with them and kind of give them a pathway to go. But then I also get people who've been in the industry for a while, and they're kind of nervous and really freaking out because of the industry right now, because there's places in the United States to where they're completely dead. And they're like, hey, I need help. What do I do? And I'll look at their work. I'm like, your work is amazing, but your social media presence is redonkulous. Like, you don't do anything. I think your last post was from 2021. What are you doing? How are you supposed to get in, front of your agent without your social media posts? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, well, we're fixing that now. So it's anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour that I sit down with people, learn about their business at first, and then if they want, they can hop on a call every week or every 2 weeks, and so that we could just discuss with there. It's more of just guiding them. I'm not really handing out really too many tips and secrets because it's all on the internet. Let me tell you, let me give you one tip. If you're going to learn anything from me today, the search bar in Facebook user groups or Reddit is the most useful tool you can ever use. Like, Everybody's asked the question you're about to ask. They've already done it. Just search it, and you'll find threads upon threads with useful information in it. Don't ask the question.
Huh.
You can
So
you can
like
ask the question.
no, so what do you mean? So like the easiest thing is just to search Reddit or to search Facebook. What are you looking for? Maybe like content ideas or or like how to get customers for real estate or like
Yeah, that what lens or hey, I have this client, selling my image like copyright issues
right.
or photo delivery issues or hey, how do I get into video or how do I, what should I is this a good camera? All these questions have been asked and it's a treasure trove if you actually just use the search
Use the
bar,
tool,
which
sure.
is yeah. And so people get upset whenever people answer them with snarky attitudes because we see that people have put in the work, put in the research and time, and then now here comes someone random not willing to put in the research and the time and just want
Sure.
answers handed to them.
Yeah. All right. So this is going to be one of my last questions for you, and you kind of touched on it about getting customers through Instagram. You don't do much marketing or whatnot. So,
Yep.
talk to us a little bit about a brand new agent starting out. What should they do on Instagram? Like what does that entail to try to get customers? Because I will tell you, I did a poll maybe a couple of weeks ago on my YouTube channel. I got several responses. I'm like, what do you guys have problems with the most? Getting customers, being profitable, customer experience, and 75% answered getting customers. So,
Yeah.
what's a good strategy or something actionable that somebody listening to this can do on Instagram to get more customers today if they wanted to?
So your best thing is your portfolio, and so you're going to have to build somewhat of a portfolio. Say like 9 images. Say if you have a blank Instagram, you need at least 9 images of something. Use your own house. Go to IKEA. I don't recommend going to IKEA, but you can go to IKEA and use their stuff. They'll kick you out. They've done it before to me.
Like
But it's
shooting
targeted
photos
hashtags.
in IKEA?
Yeah,
IKEA?
because it's all set up and it's perfect lighting in there.
You're like, you
Like
just
it's
Photoshop out
wonderful.
the tags? No.
Yeah, you learn skills right there. But no, it's all about targeted hashtags. You have a niche. You have real estate photography. You have real estate photography in your county, real estate photography in your city, and then real estate businesses like the companies. Which companies do you want to work for? Which agents do you want to work for? They all have their own hashtags. They all have so like mine. I have Pierce County Realtors. I use that hashtag. Gig Harbor Realtors. Move to Gig Harbor, and then I go down to like there was Coldwell Banker Bain. Gig Harbor. That was one of the hashtags. So I use those hashtags in each one of my posts, which allows me to get in front of their face because they created some of these hashtags, which is really big right now. They're being preached at in social media classes because I just took one of their classes with them, with some of the agents to see if I can learn anything. And it's being said, hey, create your own hashtags. So what do? You just dominate that hashtag with quality media, and you don't even need to sell. You don't need to sell at all. You don't need to give them free photo shoots. You don't need to go into their office and hand them candy. They're not going to know who gave them the candy or the donuts. They're just going to eat that. Their mind is somewhere else. But they will remember that picture that you took of that really awesome twilight or that really awesome kitchen. They're
So
like,
you,
hey, let's try out this person.
right. So you're finding that they follow those hashtags that they've created. So when you're
Hmm.
using the hashtags, when they search it, you're coming up in the feed. Hey, who's this using? So maybe there's some intrigue there in finding out. Oh, I really like that picture or whatever. Is that how you're finding that customers are getting funneled to you, or is it a different method?
Yeah, correct. It's exactly that. It's my pictures in front of them. They're seeing the content. They're following my page. They're seeing my updates. They're seeing that I'm posting the stories. They're seeing that I'm doing reels, photos. This year, I have been focused on doing more of informational stuff for agents and convincing them
Hmm.
on how to use their phone to create themselves some content with reels in order to grow their audience, in order for them to get in front of new potential clients. It's easy for real estate photographers to get in front of the ideal client because our niche is very specific to your town, your location that you want to work at, and real estate agents. There's only so many of those people in there. Say
Right.
you got 500, you just need to get in front of 500 people. real estate agents want to get in front of everybody because they, want everybody to sell their house.
All right. So lastly, I wanted to ask, is your community in the area that you serve considered more of a smaller area or like a large?
Smaller, kind of, but we go all the way up to Seattle. Tacoma is just right across the bridge. I positioned my photographers to where they're in South King County. So I hired one who's in South King County, and they're able to go up to King County to do photos. And then one down south in more of the rural area. But like where I'm at, I think my town has like 12,000 people.
All right.
But this is where all the business is because the average house up here is almost $1 million.
So there's not like, it's not a massive community, right? It's like 12,000, a population center of 12,000 really isn't that big. So I just want to emphasize that you don't need some massive market with thousands of new listings every single day to find success as a real estate photographer.
No, and yes, my town is 12,000 people, but within the surrounding, I have at least 1 million people.
Got it.
If that makes sense.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Where I want to stay happy, I just want to stay in my town, and 80% of my work does come from this town.
Ah, gotcha.
So 80% of 400,000, still pretty good.
Yeah.
I joke that I can lose 70% of my business and still make money. One thing I never brought up, my first year was 6 figures.
Really?
Yeah, it was 106K, then 166K. Then no, 106K, 197K, 266K, then 398 or something, or almost 400,000, and then this year's going to be like, I hope 650.
Wow, so you're making 6 figures as a contractor for that company with them taking 30% and all those. I guess is that a revenue number?
No.
Okay.
I ended up making like 40,000 after taxes and everything, and them taking their cut. But like the business itself made 6 figures.
Yeah.
So you can cut costs by doing a lot of things. And not being a contractor for someone, you can have an extra 30%. But you know who's going to take that extra money? Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to pay like $80,000 last year in taxes.
Yeah.
Even with the write-offs.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for taking time on this interview. If somebody watching this is interested in maybe hiring you as a coach or looking into your courses or just maybe reaching out to you, where can people find you?
Main place is probably going to be Instagram, and that's Dom Does Media. I do have a YouTube channel, but it's more just posting my work, and that's Dominic Wilkerson. But besides that, yeah, Instagram at Dom Does Media.
Sweet. Well, man, it's been very insightful and informational about your journey in real estate photography. I really I think it's very inspirational, right? Because you can go from making minimum wage to, having a 6-figure revenue business in a year, right? It's just about, hard work and making it happen. So awesome, Dominic. Really appreciate your time, and we'll see you guys on the next one.